Have you ever thought about like your God as being an egotistical God, the Christian God?
Yes,
Yeah.
sure.
And what are your thoughts about that? Do you have any?
You bet. Because the Bible says that God created us to worship him, my first knee-jerk reaction is, what type of an egotistical God are you? Creating us to worship you. But then when you think about it more deeply, what you begin to realize is, the reason God creates us to worship him is because that is where real fulfillment, meaning, personhood is found. What do I mean? Everybody here worships something or someone. To worship simply means to consider ultimately worthy. Often the intellectual elite worship the human mind. Human mind is ultimately worthy of my devotion. I think it's obvious that on a campus like this, there are some people who worship sports. And some of the athletes walk around as if they're gods on this campus. All right? So we all worship. Others of us, we're really into the frat sorority scene. And we know what the real purpose of life is. We worship our nerve endings. Maybe we call it, or we worship orgasm. That's ultimately worthy. Some of us are into career, making a lot of money. So we ultimately think that money is ultimately worthy of our allegiance. And that's why we work as hard as we do to make as much money. Now, what Christ says and what the Bible says is, if you worship one of those idols, you'll ultimately be empty and frustrated and unsatisfied. And my observation of life is, it's exactly right.
So what if like I choose to worship, let's say you choose to worship God, right?
Yes.
And that brings you all three of those things. Your life
Yep.
is like completely successful and awesome, right? But let's say I want to worship like that piece of grass right there, like.
Yes.
But I gained those same three core pieces that I gained to lead a successful life. Then what would you say about that? Would you say like I have a different God and that's okay for me? Or would you still say I need to turn towards your God in order to...
Oh, I would absolutely try and convince you not to worship the grass, because I'm convinced the grass cannot define the meaning of your life. It cannot give you real love. And I don't think the grass can give you life after death either, unless you define life after death as becoming fertilizer. I would define life after death as the real you enjoying God and enjoying people for eternity in heaven, not becoming fertilizer. So I would do everything within my power to convince you to stop worshiping the grass and to worship Jesus Christ, to worship the living God, because I'm convinced it'll be far better for you.